Hello, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. We wish you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, the book we are interpreting for you is Crossing the Chasm, with the subtitle, Marketing and Selling Disruptive Products to Mainstream Customers. So, what exactly is a disruptive product? To explain this, we need to introduce two concepts, continuous innovation and discontinuous innovation. For example, in the 1990s, people primarily used tape players to listen to music. Later, businesses made tape players more portable, turning them into Walkmans. However, the core function of Walkmans remained playing tapes, which is an example of continuous innovation. It builds upon the existing behavior of playing tapes, requiring no significant behavior change. But after the year 2000, products like MP3 players came into the market. People no longer played tapes, instead, they downloaded music from the internet to their MP3 players. This is an example of discontinuous innovation, where consumer behaviors or existing infrastructure need significant changes to align with the new product. The author of this book, Geoffrey A, refers to such discontinuous innovations as disruptive products. Now, how can consumers willingly change their past consumption and behavior habits to embrace disruptive products? This is precisely what this book aims to discuss. The author believes that getting a small group of consumers to accept disruptive products is not difficult. We can still use the example of the iPod in 2001. Despite being usable only on Apple's Mac system and having a high price of $399, it gained a significant following among enthusiasts. However, making disruptive products widely accepted by the masses is not easy. It wasn't until the end of 2004, with the release of the fourth-generation iPod, that it truly entered the mainstream consumer market. Therefore, the author points out that there is a significant chasm between the popularity of disruptive products within a niche and gaining mainstream market acceptance. Whether a company can successfully cross this chasm determines the commercialization of its product and, ultimately, its success. This is also the origin of the book's title. Geoffrey A, the author of this book, is a well-known organizational theorist and marketing consultant in Silicon Valley. His consulting company, Geoffrey Moore Consulting, has provided product marketing consulting services to companies such as HP, Microsoft, and Oracle. The content of this book is mostly derived from real consulting cases of these companies, and the marketing model proposed by the author has been tested numerous times and is recognized in the marketing field. The book was first published in 1991 and sold over 300,000 copies shortly after its release. In Forbes magazine's 2002 list of the 20 most influential business books of the 20th century, this book ranked 7th. It addresses a significant challenge for businesses, especially high-tech ones, because high-tech companies often engage in discontinuous innovation, and the chasm is a recurring issue in their development path. Therefore, this book is highly regarded in Silicon Valley, where many high-tech companies are located, and it is considered a marketing Bible by many enterprises. The book consists of 7 chapters. In the first 2 chapters, the author analyzes how the chasm is created. In chapters 3 to 7, the author introduces methods for companies to cross the chasm. Our discussion today will also delve into these 2 parts. Let's start with the first part of the content, discussing how the chasm is formed. Before introducing this part, I'd like to ask you a few questions. We all know that electric vehicles are gaining significant momentum in development. Have you purchased an electric vehicle? If you have, when did you buy it? If you opted for a gasoline-powered car when buying a vehicle, what were your reasons? The answers to these questions are actually used to assess your acceptance level of a disruptive product and determine which category of consumer you belong to. This is based on the classic technology adoption lifecycle model, proposed by the renowned American communication theorist Everett Rogers in 1973. This model categorizes consumers into 5 major groups: innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Let me explain each one to you. If you were already paying attention to relevant information about electric cars before they were widely produced and were among the first to purchase one as soon as they became available, you can be considered an innovator. You actively follow disruptive products, and embracing novelty is a significant source of joy in your life. If you bought an electric vehicle a year or 2 after they were in production, after gaining a thorough understanding of the technology, you would fall into the category of early adopters. Even though electric cars at this point might still have some system instability and slower charging, you believe that the future of the automotive market lies in electric vehicles. If you purchased an electric vehicle after the market had matured, with various reviews and benchmarks available, and you chose the vehicle with the highest industry recognition, then you belong to the early majority. Many others share your mindset, making up roughly 1/3 of the market. If you haven't bought one yet because you believe the technology isn't mature enough, there are safety concerns, and you'd rather wait until most people are using electric vehicles, thinking the technology will be more mature, the infrastructure better, and the prices lower, then you fall into the late majority, another third of the market. However, if you are a staunch supporter of gasoline-powered cars and would only consider buying an electric vehicle if they are no longer allowed to sell gasoline cars or there are no more gas stations, then you are classified as a laggard. The technology adoption lifecycle model represents the ideal development path for businesses. It involves gaining initial acceptance from the early adopters, building a reputation within a niche, being widely embraced by the mainstream, and finally reaching a point where even the most resistant individuals are willing to pay for the product. Before this book was published, most marketing strategies were built upon this model. Businesses tried to create a herd effect, where one consumer group influenced the next to purchase the product. However, the author points out that this model is overly idealized, and reality often doesn't align with it. For example, when Apple releases a new product, Apple enthusiasts rush to buy it. But if you're not an Apple enthusiast, would you buy the product just because others are? Probably not. Even if you do buy it later, it might not be due to the influence of Apple enthusiasts. In other words, herd effects only occur within the same consumer group. Why is this the case? Let's see how the author analyzes it. The author uses the technology adoption lifecycle model as a theoretical foundation and further divides the 5 consumer groups into 3 markets: the early market, the mainstream market, and the laggard market. The early market consists primarily of innovators and early adopters, with early adopters leading the way because they provide most of the orders during this stage. The mainstream market includes early and late majority consumers, who make up 2/3 of the entire consumer base and are the main source of substantial income for businesses. Finally, the laggard market represents the most challenging group to conquer. The author believes that there are cracks within the markets and between them. These cracks can be used to adjust the model, helping businesses better understand the market. Let's first look at the cracks within the market. For instance, in the early market, there is a crack between innovators and early adopters. Even if a disruptive product is conceptually advanced and gains acceptance among innovators, early adopters may not be interested if they don't see practical applications. For example, in the electric car industry, electric cars' green and advanced concept is appreciated by innovators, but without fast charging technology, it may not appeal to early adopters. So, acceptance levels may not be ideal within the early adopter group. Similarly, in the mainstream market, there can be cracks between early and late majority consumers. Even if approximately 1/3 of people are using a particular product, many others may still hesitate due to various reasons like high prices or complex operation. For instance, late majority consumers who are in a wait-and-see mode regarding electric cars may not buy them because of incomplete infrastructure and relatively high costs. The author suggests that these cracks within the market can be filled by businesses through timely strategy adjustments. For example, in the early market, companies can listen to user feedback and improve product functionality. Or they can participate in forums where early adopters frequent, showcasing the product's unique features to attract them. In the mainstream market, companies can attract late majority consumers by lowering prices or simplifying the operating system. However, the cracks between innovators and early adopters represent a chasm, which is wide and deep. This is the focal point of the book's attention. If a company cannot cross this chasm, it means they cannot break into the mainstream market and may eventually fail. I hope this explanation helps you understand the concept. If you have any questions or would like to proceed to the next part, please let me know. So, how exactly does this chasm form? It's because early adopters and the early majority have entirely different buying logic. Early adopters are constantly monitoring industry technology trends, partly because they have a genuine interest in technology, and partly because they can see the long-term value of disruptive products. For instance, Sheldon Lobby, the Information and Technology Director at PricewaterhouseCoopers, is a typical early adopter. In the early 1980s, when Lotus Software in the United States designed its latest office software, even before it could be tested, Sheldon Lobby promised to purchase 10,000 copies to update PwC's software systems. This office software could assist businesses in budgeting, forecasting sales, and tracking project progress, which was highly advanced technology at the time. Sheldon Lobby wanted to use advanced technology to simplify data management. Additionally, early adopters are often willing to tolerate minor flaws that may occur in disruptive products. After all, for any newly introduced disruptive product, these minor drawbacks are inevitable. However, early majority consumers are entirely different. They are cautious and want to see progress in disruptive technology, but they don't want to be the ones repeatedly testing and fixing issues in the products. Once they decide to use a product, they expect it to not only operate smoothly but also seamlessly integrate with their existing technological infrastructure. For example, when buying new office software like early adopters, early majority consumers want the software to be compatible with their current computers. In other words, to win over the early majority, you have to assure them that the risks are manageable. For instance, in the 1980s, IBM dominated the database industry. However, Oracle's database from Oracle Corporation managed to break through. The key reason was Oracle's database had greater compatibility. While IBM's database was only compatible with their own Windows system, Oracle's database could work with other operating systems. This compatibility won over the early majority. Early majority consumers also have a characteristic: they like to see reasonable competition. Under competition, they can not only purchase products at lower prices but also quickly find alternative solutions when problems arise. Most importantly, through competition, the early majority can ensure that they are buying the products that will become market leaders. The benefit of market-leading products is that many third-party companies will develop various supportive products around them. For example, after the success of Lotus Office software, most computers at the time could be compatible with it. In summary, early adopters want to adopt disruptive products quickly, while the early majority takes their time and compares. Early adopters constantly follow new technology, while the early majority needs to see stable output from technology. However, there is ineffective communication between them, and early adopters' opinions are limited to their small circle, not influencing the early majority. The early majority wants more information to make purchasing decisions but may not know who to ask. Alright, this is the content of the first part. How the chasm forms. We first introduced the 5 consumer groups within the technology adoption life cycle model: innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. The author pointed out that these 5 consumer groups are not continuous, there are gaps in between. Building on this model, the author further divided these 5 consumer groups into 3 main markets: early market, mainstream market, and late market. The gap between the early market and mainstream market is wide and deep, representing the challenging chasm that businesses face when trying to cross it. The author believes that the key to a business's success is successfully crossing this chasm, essentially creating a mainstream market for their product. This is the focus of the second part of our discussion. For a business, gaining the support of the early majority is not only a requirement for entering an industry but also crucial for maintaining a dominant market position for an extended period. The author likens the action of crossing this chasm to the Normandy landings during World War II. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces in World War II crossed the English Channel and landed in Normandy, northern France. This operation served as a base to reclaim Europe from the grip of Nazi Germany. For businesses wanting to cross the chasm, their actions are similar to this. Their long-term goal is to enter and control the mainstream market, which is equivalent to Europe at the time. However, this mainstream market is currently dominated by strong competitors, akin to Nazi Germany. To enter this market, their current goal is to find a niche market, equivalent to the landing site in Normandy. The current obstacle is the chasm, which is comparable to the English Channel. Therefore, they need to concentrate all their armed forces and move towards this sole goal. Once they capture this niche market, the business must seize the opportunity to continue occupying other niche markets, much like other regions in France, until they gain dominion over the entire mainstream market. In summary, the successful crossing of the chasm can be divided into 5 steps. 1. Targeting *, identifying a specific niche market as the point of entry. 2. Concentration *, allocating all available resources to build a complete product. 3. Strategy *, creating unique differentiators, actively competing, and convincing consumers that their product is the optimal choice. 4. Launch * initiating the invasion with favorable sales methods and reasonable pricing. 5. Reverse momentum * continuing to promote, identify and address any shortcomings, and prevent future issues proactively. The first step, targeting, involves dividing all potential customers into several different niche markets and carefully evaluating each market to accurately find the suitable niche market. Two critical points when assessing a market are that it must be entirely untapped, and it must be small enough to ensure the business becomes a big fish in a small pond. This is because when a business establishes itself as a unique leader in a market, it builds a strong reputation that can help it enter other markets later on. The book provides an example of a company called Documentum that successfully targeted a niche market. In 1993, Documentum, a document management software company, had been doing well, but its annual revenue stagnated at $3 million for 3 years. It was evident that the company had hit a chasm. When a new manager, Geoffrey Miller, took over, he conducted thorough research and found a unique niche market, the pharmaceutical industry. Pharmaceutical companies faced the challenge of organizing approval materials for new drugs, which were incredibly complex and often comprised hundreds of pages. The process typically took a year to complete. Documentum saw this as an opportunity and began offering document management services tailored to pharmaceutical companies. Their software facilitated clinical trials, research, production quality control, drug safety, and more, all while being easily accessible and equipped with efficient search, recognition, and submission features. This allowed Documentum to become the largest fish in this pond. Over 30 of the top 40 pharmaceutical companies in the United States adopted Documentum's products, and the company's annual revenue quickly rose from $3 million to $25 million. Documentum's success in the pharmaceutical industry then helped it enter the petroleum industry, as its document processing tool was equally applicable to complex refinery management. This success in the petroleum industry, in turn, attracted the attention of many stock investors and analysts on Wall Street, who realized that this software could significantly improve their financial operations. In this way, Documentum's business expanded into various markets successfully. With a target in place, we move on to the second step, concentrating all resources to create a competitive product. The author believes that a competitive product is not just about the product itself but also includes complementary aspects like installation, training, and after-sales service. It may even involve products from other companies. The reason behind this advice is rooted in the fundamental difference between the early market and the mainstream market. Early adopters tend to combine their interests to assemble their ideal product, but early majority consumers do not. They expect you to provide a complete package of products, minimizing the difficulty of using disruptive products. For instance, in 1992, a company named Savvy primarily offered an inventory tracking system. The core of this system was RFID tags that allowed users to scan and know the location and contents of containers with tagged items. At the time, Savvy's system was considered highly advanced, which led to it winning orders from the U.S. military. But how did Savvy transition into the mainstream market? When targeting, Savvy chose shipyards because they always had heaps of goods waiting for shipment. To serve shipyards effectively, Savvy not only offered an inventory tracking system but also a range of related products. This included trailers and semi-trailers for easy transportation of containers within the shipyard. Walkie-talkies were also provided for communication between shipyard managers and employees handling the trailers. Due to the complexity of the system, Savvy even offered specialized training and on-site guidance to ensure shipyard workers could easily adapt. What Savvy provided to its customers exceeded its own inventory tracking system. It offered a complete solution. This is how it successfully penetrated the mainstream market. Currently, Savvy provides complex supply chain networks to various industries, including American packaging companies, pharmaceutical companies, and the U.S. Department of Defense. Once the product is ready, the next step is to enter the market. This brings us to the third step, strategizing, which involves competing with other competitors and defeating them. The author believes that to cross the chasm, businesses should proactively engage in competition. As mentioned earlier, one notable characteristic of the early majority is their preference for competitive environments. Only when a stable competitive landscape forms in the market and a stable market leader emerges will the early majority be determined to make a purchase. However, initiating competition also requires skill. Companies should choose a specific competitor as a reference point, create a unique differentiator that belongs exclusively to them, and then inform customers that their product is the best choice. For example, Intuit, a company with annual revenues in the billions today, successfully crossed the chasm with a home finance software called Quicken. In 1988, when Intuit introduced Quicken, there was already a best-selling personal finance software called Managing Your Money in the market. This software offered portfolio analysis and allowed users to create financial models for financial planning. When Intuit initiated competition, they found a unique positioning, making bill payment simpler and more user-friendly. At the time, people primarily used personal checks for payments. Intuit developed a printing system that allowed users to easily print checks at home. This system also recorded the contents of the checks, enabling users to track their financial movements better. It helped users manage personal finances and deal with personal tax issues. While competitors were focused on investment and financial management, Intuit positioned its product as a tool for managing household finances. Ultimately, this product was a huge success, capturing 70% of the market share. With the strategy in place, we move on to the fourth step, launching the invasion. Invasion primarily involves two aspects. The first is the sales approach. What's the best way to sell? In comparison to using distributors, the author believes that building an in-house sales team for direct sales is the best approach. Why is this the case? The author mentions two critical factors when choosing a product sales channel. 1. The ability to establish relationships with the target customers in the mainstream market. 2. How to modify the product to meet the needs of these target customers. Direct sales excel in meeting both of these criteria. Firstly, direct sales imply that the company's marketing team can establish relationships with customers on their own, something that distribution models cannot achieve. Secondly, when the marketing team engages with target customers, they can respond promptly and engage in ongoing discussions regarding personalized requirements, which can then be incorporated into product solutions. Historically, the most successful product sales channels in the high-tech industry have been direct sales. For example, IBM's expertise in direct sales allowed it to dominate the market in the 1970s and 1980s. Additionally, companies like HP, Oracle, SAP, and Cisco have also sold their products through direct sales channels. When building a sales team, the author offers a suggestion. To better establish relationships with target customers and understand their needs, companies can hire a senior executive from the target customer group. For instance, if a company wants to sell its products to the logistics industry, the best approach might be to recruit a senior executive from a leading logistics company to join the sales team. Once the company has crossed the chasm and successfully entered the mainstream market, it can consider various combinations of sales methods, such as authorizing distributors, or collaborating with other companies within the overall product for cooperative sales, to cover a broader market. For example, internet sales can also be effective, as many niche customers in target markets tend to follow specialized forums or websites. With the sales approach determined, the next step is pricing. What is the appropriate price for the product? First and foremost, the price cannot be too high. Companies need to consider whether the product can sell at this price point. However, it also cannot be too low. Companies need to think about whether the product is still worth selling at this price. In general, early majority consumers are not very sensitive to product prices. They are willing to pay a premium for top-quality products or special services. The premium refers to the portion of the price that exceeds the normal market price. Therefore, the author suggests positioning the company as a market leader and, based on that, adding a certain premium to determine the product's price. According to the author's research, early majority consumers can accept a premium of up to approximately 30%. This approach ensures profitability while allowing the company to choose more sales methods after crossing the chasm, such as agents or distributors, and offer them a portion of this premium as higher compensation to attract more customers. Is it foolproof at this point? The author believes it's still not time to rush. This strategic plan needs careful scrutiny, and that's where the fifth step comes in, backtracking and addressing gaps. In this step, there are two main aspects that companies need to address: cautious financing and timely adjustment of personnel structure. First, let's talk about cautious financing. Before the troops move, it's important to ensure that the supplies are in order. Companies need to make sure they have enough capital to help them cross the chasm. However, many companies often overlook this issue, primarily because they do not prioritize profitability. In the early market, companies often aim for rapid growth rather than immediate profitability. Investors are attracted to these companies because they see the potential for rapid growth and are willing to invest substantial amounts of capital to support further development. However, both companies and investors often overlook the existence of the chasm. When a company rapidly captures the early market, its growth rate will slow down or even stagnate. If, at this point, the capital provided by investors is exhausted, the company can find itself in a difficult situation. The author offers two pieces of advice on this matter. 1. Companies should adopt a profit-oriented approach from the outset, ensuring they have a steady source of income and avoiding blind expenditure. For example, if your company is like Cisco, a hardware company, you shouldn't overproduce products and stack them in the warehouse. Instead, adjust production based on actual sales. Similarly, don't blindly spend money on advertising everywhere, focus on targeted marketing through methods like product launches or small-scale expert seminars. 2. Companies should wait until they have gained complete leadership in the early market, i.e., when the whole product has been developed, before seeking additional financing. This way, the capital obtained can be used entirely during the chasm crossing period. Companies also need to be careful not to deplete all their funds during the chasm crossing phase, which could leave them in a precarious situation. Moving on to the second aspect, timely adjustment of personnel structure. If there are issues with the generals leading the troops, it's challenging to win the battle. Company leaders must recognize that the early market and the mainstream market are two entirely different markets, requiring different types of talent. In the early market, the focus is mainly on a product-driven approach, attracting users interested in new technology with superior products. Sales teams in the early market need to have a good understanding of cutting-edge technology and products. They should comprehend the aspirations of early adopters and package products accordingly to secure orders. However, in the mainstream market, a market-driven approach prevails. Companies need to identify the market's real demands through market research and customer interviews. The significance of the company's original single product diminishes as it becomes part of the whole product. For example, the core product's importance may take a back seat to complementary products and services such as trailers, walkie-talkies, training, and more, all of which should be integrated into the customer proposition. In essence, the marketing department's focus should shift from selling a single product to building relationships. Therefore, when a company plans to cross the chasm, adjustments in personnel structure are necessary. It's essential to move away from relying solely on product-centric talents from the early market and bring in more individuals skilled in marketing entire product solutions. Alright, here is the main content for today. In addition to this book, the author has also written two sequels, Tornado and Fault Zone. In these two books, the author further refines how companies should formulate marketing strategies. Tornado discusses how companies should conduct marketing activities during their high-growth phase, while Fault Zone explores how current market leaders should respond to new technological challenges. Despite the fact that 40 years have passed since the initial publication of this book, its theories remain proven and effective. This is because the author examines consumer decision-making psychology and builds a thinking model based on it. Over time, disruptive products that consumers purchase may vary, but the psychology behind consumer purchasing decisions remains similar. The essence of marketing lies in understanding human nature and grasping the human psyche. Alright, we've covered this book for you. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you all for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom and practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you all, and goodbye.